Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 29th of November. I'm Derek Clark, eventually, and I'm joined by Joshua Barrie. How are we doing, Joshua?
Yeah, good. Sorry to everyone. Hopefully our connection holds up. Derek is the one in Rangers Review HQ today, and he's experiencing the connection difficulties that I am often faced with. So hopefully we hold on to you for the whole show, Derek. But if not, we will. I'll just maybe answer some questions.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. We'll get there one way or another. Apologies, folks, if you've been hanging on, but we're here now to talk all things Rangers. Now, Joshua, you were on last night, a bumper show with Johnny McFarlane talking about Michael Beale and his appointment as Rangers manager. I think everyone expected it to be announced at some point, and Monday was the day. He comes into Rangers from QPR after a 6-month stretch there. A lot of supporters, it's fair to say, a sort of mixed reaction, a lot of excitement at having him return to the club that he enjoyed success under Steven Gerrard, of course. However, there are some out there that are questioning his managerial experience. We talked about Ali McCoist yesterday, saying it was a 6 out of 10 appointment, and he was surprised that they went with someone with so little managerial experience. You've done a great piece on the website that people can go and read. I'll just mention the great offer we've got as well on, folks. Just £1 for 6 months worth of content on there. Our Black Friday offer. Go and check it out if you get a chance. But Joshua, what's your overriding emotion seeing Michael Beale being appointed as the Rangers manager?
Yeah, well, obviously, as you said, Derek, we kind of spoke about this a little bit last night, and I think 6 out of 10 is a bit harsh. It's probably one of these appointments where in the initial stage, people maybe want some different names mentioned. People wonder if a name from the past is best suited to take the club forward. But I think increasingly, since the kind of news first emerged, obviously it's been football's worst kept secret that Michael Beale is going to be Rangers manager. I think there has been a gradual increase of excitement. And I think if you listen to his Rangers TV interview last night, Derek, me and Johnny were speaking about it before we came on air. There were so many lines in it, kind of so many buzzwords. And I think buzzwords that supporters want to hear about playing fast, aggressive football, how he expects to win. You know, Beale spoken previously about loving the intensity of Glasgow. So he said all the right things. We know the arguments about experience. We know he's not got a lot of managerial experience at first team level, but he obviously does have a lot of experience when it comes to setting teams up, working with first team players, taking charge of a lot of the day-to-day activities around the first team environment, such as training and team meetings. So it's now obviously time for him to go and put it into action. It was nice to see him back on the training pitch with all those players. Obviously, he took the training session before it was announced just after 5 o'clock yesterday that he was the Rangers manager, and I'm sure a few of them will be kind of looking forward to working under him again, given how they improved under him and the rest of the coaching staff last time.
Yeah, you done a piece on the backroom staff, Joshua. What can the Rangers fans expect from the coaches that are being brought in?
I'm just trying to get their names up in front of me, Derek, because a lot's happened in the last 12 hours. So you've got Neil Banfield, I know that off the top of my head, who was at QPR from 2019, initially brought in by Mark Warburton. He is a 60-year-old coach, worked at Arsenal for 21 years, I think, on
We seem to have lost Josh. I was wondering if it was my Wi-Fi or Joshua's, but we've left them in a freeze frame mode there at the moment. Joshua, if you can hear us, do let us know. I'll get to some of the comments. SHS speak. Yeah, you're leaving us hanging there, Joshua. I'll carry on just now, folks. The coaches Rangers bringing in Of course, Joshua was telling us about Neil Banfield is one he's worked with Arsenal for a great number of years prior to joining QPR, initially under Mark Warburton, and now, of course, under Michael Beale as well. So he is an experienced coach, and he'll be joining Michael Beale at Rangers. In fact, I was speaking to a QPR supporter yesterday, and he says he was influential in bringing Chris Willock to the QPR, and he says he wouldn't be surprised if stories start emerging of potential moves to Ibrox as well for the former Arsenal player. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Damien Matthew also will be joining up, and Harry Watling as well. Harry Watling is his set piece coach. He's another one speaking to the QPR supporter yesterday. He said that especially going forward, they look threatening from set pieces. However, conceding from them is a problem and has been for a number of weeks. Defensively, they're been pretty poor, QPR, of late. Joshua has rejoined us. You put 50 pence in the meter.
Honestly, you actually couldn't write the Wi-Fi situation at our workplace, Derek, sometimes. So but we're
apologise, but Joshua's back. Good to have you back. Yeah, we're just talking about the coaches there, Joshua. I was just just mentioning who will be joining Michael Beale at Ibrox, Neil Banfield, Harry Watling, of course, and Damien Matthew. Can you give us a little idea of Damien Matthew's background?
Damien Matthew, 52 years old, similarly to Beale, has worked kind of all through football's different levels. I think that's something that was cited by Beale in the summer when he chose to bring Damien Matthew in, seen as somewhat of a mentor figure. Thank you, Ian. As a mentor figure to Beale. He was actually the man that gave Beale his first, I think it was his first coaching job at Chelsea, over 2 decades ago. And he was tasked with working specifically with the midfield at QPR, Neil Banfield specifically the defence, and Michael Beale specifically the attackers. Obviously, they kind of worked in the same way that Gerrard's coaching staff did, with certain players, certain coaches taking certain units of players. So I think at Rangers before, Beale worked with the attackers, McAllister with the midfielders, and maybe Culshaw with the defence. I could be wrong. And then the third is Harry. I think it's Watling, who's 32 years old, was a head coach in America. And his connection to Beale is that when Beale ran his first ever futsal session in the church hall over 20 years ago, Watling was one of the 3 participants that turned up. So they've all got connections to Beale because Neil Banfield, who's at Arsenal, he coached Beale for a period of time when he was at Charlton. So it's quite interesting to see how he's picked people he knows and obviously trusts, similarly to the way that I guess Gerrard did with some of his staff, particularly looking back when he brought Culshaw in. But Watling will work, I think, specifically with set pieces. QPR have had some inventive attacking set plays, which is fun because Rangers up to this point this season have not. We wrote about it on the website. You can read it on the tactics section of the website. Their goals per game from corners to drop by almost half. From 0.4 to 0.2. The expected goals from corners as well was down. Rangers, I think, need to vary things more, take more advantage of corners because they can be so important. Look, cast your mind back to that St Johnstone game, Derek, where Rangers lost 2-1. They had 20 corners. Now, it's unlikely you score from a corner on the basis of probability, but for the number of chances Rangers had in that game, they didn't take advantage of it. And I know you asked James Tavernier about that, and he kind of said, well, we got first contact in a lot of them, but I think 90% of Rangers corners in the league this season have been outswingers. It's not been varied enough. I don't think there's not been enough of different routines or things to make an opposition kind of feel worried about, even if Rangers haven't had the most dominant headers of the ball in the team. So he'll be tasked, I'd imagine, obviously we'll get confirmation at the press conference, with improving Rangers set pieces, but also working more widely with the team. And then there's going to be, I think, some more appointments as per the press release last night. I think it said that there can be more announcements expected in the coming days. Obviously, we know that Dave Voss has left, and it looks like all of the staff that were there under Giovanni van Bronckhorst will do the same. So they'll need to be replaced, much like was the case when Gerrard took his staff all down to Aston Villa. Yeah,
that was seamlessly done, Joshua. Like how you mentioned Dave Voss, because I was going to speak about his farewell tweet yesterday that he issued to the supporters. Very classy He said that I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to play a part in this special club. It's been an absolute honour, especially the players, who gave everything every day, the people who guard the culture at the club and do everything to perform, but also made us feel at home. And he says, and of course the supporters, you've shown me how special this club is and have taken the team to unbelievable heights. The road to Seville, winning the Scottish Cup and qualifying for the Champions League. Rangers will always be special to me. I wish everyone the best of luck in the future. Of course, the backroom staff leaving alongside Giovanni van Bronckhorst. No word yet on Kerry Bowley, Joshua, at this moment in time. However, Dave Voss leaving the club. He was only here for a short period of time. Unfortunately, it never worked out. But that was a classy message from him, wasn't it? In keeping with Giovanni van Bronckhorst's message over the weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Pardon me. Again, I think he's still only 29, Dave Voss. So he came into the club as a very highly rated youth coach. We know that he had involvement, a little bit of input, should we say, outside the first team as well, given his background in youth development at Ajax. But I'm sure it just speaks to the something I put in one of my pieces yesterday. Again, I can't remember which one because so much has happened in the last 24 hours, Derek. But managers want their people, and at football clubs, I think increasingly the job's so vast, the responsibility, and they have to do so much that they need to obviously, pass things off to other members of staff. Perfect example is Beale wants to work in units, so he needs someone to work with his defenders and his midfielders. And I think he'll want someone who understands his vision of football, and maybe there's some similarities between Van Bronckhorst and Gerrard's outcomes, but how the two squads have played, for me, the two different styles between Giovanni Van Bronckhorst and Steven Gerrard was night and day with a lot of things. If you look at how they defended off the ball, Beale will be a lot more compact off the ball. You'll want his players to chase in packs rather than going man for man. I think you'll see the build-up play will be slower and better controlled. There'll be a lot more bodies in the centre of the pitch and less fullbacks and wingers wide, which we've seen a lot under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, particularly at the end. And I think as a result of that, he'll want people in that understand his style of football and how he wants to play it. It's actually something that Watling mentioned in the press release QPR put out this summer when he was announced as a member of Beale's backroom staff. He said that he understood the manager's style of play. That was one of the key reasons for him coming in to join him at QPR, and obviously now he follows him up to Ibrox. So yeah, classy message from Voss. Not surprised at that. Shame it didn't work out, but I think the fact that he's been brought into this job at such a young age, we'll see his name crop up in football at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Gordon says we need someone who can get the team fit and also someone to get them better at set pieces. That seems to be a constant message from supporters that are tuning in this morning. Let's get to some of the other comments that are coming in here. James Strachan gets in touch. Hi, James. Hi, Joshua and Derek. Sorry I'm late getting ready for my knee replacement surgery tomorrow. All the best with that.
Yeah, good luck, James. Oh, I think we might have lost Derek now. Sorry, folks. Oh, there we are.
Sign up. Yeah, there we are. Oh, we're losing connection once again.
No, I'm fine. I'm here. Carry on.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Steel FM say you signed up for the £1 for 6 month offer. Defo a must, fellow Bears. The content is the best Rangers content out there by far. Well worth the money. Good to have you on board, buddy. And please do check out if you haven't already done so. Neil Angus gets in touch. This ties in with what you were suggesting, Joshua, that more coaches in the pipeline. He says, has he mentioned his number 2 yet? Do you envisage a number 2 coming in, or is Neil Banfield, do you think, filling that role for you?
It's a good point, actually, Neil raises, because I don't think it's specified by the club if any of these people coming in will be backroom staff members, or whether they will fulfil the role of number 2. I think Banfield and Matthew were joint first team coaches. I could be wrong with that, but that's similarly what happened with, I think, Voss and Kerry Bowley. I think that's quite common now in football. So you'd imagine that there's going to be a fitness coach maybe coming alongside the new manager, maybe another member of staff as well. I think the rough number would be 6. So he's brought in 3. If you add him on, that's 4. The only other members, I think, of the coaching staff at QPR was the goalkeeping coach. Obviously, I think Colin Stewart was, as far as I'm aware, is staying at the club. So it might just be one or two more appointments. Just wanted to raise this point here. Gordon Bond saying, did Josh say the build-up will be slower? It cannot possibly get slower than Gio's 100 passes across the back. I think context for that is, yes, that's true, but also you'd see a lot more direct long balls under Van Bronckhorst. So what Gordon alludes to, I think, maybe wasn't what Van Bronckhorst wanted, but I think he wanted control in different ways. I think under what you'll see under Beale is a lot more rotations, which will free players up to get them get the team up the pitch quicker. But if you think about Gerrard's teams, there was a lot of control within them. They were fast and they were attacking, but dominant teams are going to have 60-70% of the ball in the Scottish Premiership anyway. You won't see a back four just passing the ball along the back line with the fullback staying in. Either I think the fullbacks will go high and wide as they did under Beale last time. He said his ideas have evolved. Maybe we'll see them come inside the pitch as well. But that's what I mean, Gordon. Not necessarily that you'll see as much passing along the defence, but I think there'll be an emphasis on making Rangers better in possession, because I don't think over the last year domestically, although they've had a lot of the ball, a lot of the time I don't think they've been in control. I think teams have allowed them to play where they're comfortable allowing them to play.
Yeah, Derek Craig gets in touch. I'll go from £3 a month to £5 a month if you can use the £2 extra to get quality Wi-Fi. Yeah. Take your point on board, Derek. Ian Muir gets in touch, watching us all the way from down under. Coming through loud and clear. Looking forward to the successful Beale years there. But here's hoping, Ian, and that ties in nicely, Joshua, because I wanted to ask you about some news I noticed this morning with regards to the ill-fated Sydney Super Cup. Of course, Rangers were originally due to play in that competition. Reports suggesting that the club could be sued by the organisers. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that?
Yeah, I'm just kind of catching up on the news myself, Derek. Obviously, we know, as you say, the news coming out today about the Sydney Cup, which that was a while ago now, but we remember kind of the fiasco that surrounded that, led to believe that the club are going back with a counter-suit in response to what's happened with that. Aren't expecting to have costs associated with that, but naturally they'll have been disappointed to kind of lose the fee involved with that. But ultimately, towards the end of I think that Sydney Cup, I think we can call it fiasco, it was pretty clear that there was a lot of disenchantment with them getting involved with that. I think Johnny McFarlane is going to have a piece on the website in the next couple of hours. I think it's going to be up this morning. So again, if you want to sign up, £1 for 6 months, folks, on the little ticker below, then you'll get all the kind of backstory to that, what's happening. Johnny's great at writing these pieces that cut through the noise of a lot of legal things and explains them to me very well. So I'll be reading that piece as well, which should be up on the website quite soon. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. And also other news last night that broke, Joshua. It's fair to say it was maybe forgotten about with the new manager being announced. The fourth round of the Scottish Cup draws paired Rangers with a trip to McDermott Park once again. Oh, how you love a trip to Perth, don't you?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw a good Rangers performance in Perth. Maybe the 3-0 game under Gerrard, but yeah, but the cup competitions, in all seriousness, for Beale will be a bit of a question mark until he does well in them. Because although we spoke last night, Derek, about the fact that I think when you're the first team coach, you can get all the good bits attributed to you about the style of play and your coaching, but then maybe when things go wrong, it's Gerrard's fault, and you have that figurehead above you. We don't know. Beale wasn't in charge for these cup failures, so we can't really attribute them to him. But under his kind of coaching and the previous regime, there was a soft underbelly that at times reared its head in cup competitions. None better than the game against St Johnstone in the Scottish Cup when Tavernier scored that late header. It looked as though Rangers are finally going to get maybe that Scottish Cup, and then conceded that late goal with the keeper Xander Clark getting a head on it. So Rangers will have to be better in domestic competitions than they were last time around. That's something that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst did managed to do. And he's also got a semi-final against Aberdeen, I think, in January. So it's going to be all go. But I think Beale will embrace that. He has these 3 weeks to try and embed his ideas, get the players playing his style of play. And he said it himself last night, he has to win every game. If he goes in with that mindset, then hopefully that will mean that Rangers, although they're 9 points behind, there's still the potential to make something of this season, which didn't look likely a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay, we'll wrap up shortly. Just a couple of more comments coming in. Andy McInnes says, off topic, but any live pods in the pipeline, Derek? That is certainly something that I'm sure we'll be thinking about in the future. We'd love to do that, Andy. I think that is a great idea there. So watch this space with regards to that. I think that is certainly something to consider. You've done sort of one recently, not a pod, Joshua, but you were in the Loudon with Stevie Clifford, the contributor, and David Edgar from Heart in the Hand. How did that go?
Well, David Edgar is when you put a mic in his hand and on a podcast, he just turns into a comedian. So it was great value, and Stevie obviously great as well. So it was privileged to do it with both of them. Wasn't the best circumstances to do it in because I think it was just before the international breaks. The results weren't great, but no, I enjoyed it. It's always good to, obviously we do these things over a screen, so it's always good to do a bit of talking in person. So as you say, Derek, maybe something we can put to the powers that be above our pay grade and get it sorted in the future.
Yeah, and Andy says, can the chat get first dibs on tickets then? If so, I'll put a good word in, Andy. Be sure of that. Okay, I think that'll do us here, folks. Apologies again for the signal and the Wi-Fi, which has been pretty dreadful this morning, but we've soldiered on and we've got there in the end. We'll make sure it's hunky-dory tomorrow when we come back on. Thanks to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. It's greatly appreciated. And as ever, remember, if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do so. It's totally free. And we've got the Black Friday offer on, which ends on the 30th of November. So not much time to take advantage of it. Just £1 for 6 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. Okay, we'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.